Hello everybody and welcome back, or if it's your first time, welcome. I am Lily and I am ridiculously passionate about making healthy lifestyles simple, approachable, and less confusing. A big source of confusion for many of us when we're trying to improve our health is hydration. It is beyond important to your health to be well hydrated, and I highly suggest that you check out this video for more details on why hydration is so important, what type of water you should be drinking, and how to drink that water. Understanding the importance of keeping our watery bodies hydrated is the easy part. Next comes trying to figure out what type of water filter is best. I've been plugged into the health and wellness arena for over a decade, but even with my years of experience and the research that I've done, it's still hard to wrap my head around what's what. There are so many opinions that aren't just in conflict, they're actually directly contradicting each other, using information on all sides that looks like it could pretty much just be made up. But let's start with a brief explanation of why water filtration is important. Like, can't you just drink tap water, or isn't bottled water supposed to be ideal? First of all, as illustrated by the Environmental Watch Group's tap water database findings, no, tap water isn't all that clean. Sure, we can drink it and we'll probably survive, like we're not going to get cholera or giardia, and that is a blessing that I do not take for granted. But for a myriad of reasons, tap water in most municipalities contains many heavy metals, pesticides, herbicide residues, drugs residues, volatile organic compounds, environmental pollutants like gasoline additives, and is high in chlorine and, in many parts of the US, fluoride. Many of these contaminants, like heavy metals and PCBs, bioaccumulate, meaning that they build up in our body's tissues over our lifetimes, and we have no way to get rid of these toxins. Except when we have babies, and then we as mothers dump our toxic load into their tiny developing bodies through placental exchange and breastfeeding. Kind of makes you want to scream on the inside. So when I drink water, I'm doing so to try to help my body detoxify. But if we are drinking tap water, we are actually adding to the toxin burden. So wouldn't that mean bottled water is better? Not so fast. Firstly, no one is regulating the bottled water industry. The stuff in those bottles could just be coming from someone's bathtub, which is probably where Nestle will be stealing it from after they've bought water rights to everywhere else. In addition to questionable purity before the water goes into the bottle, just imagine what chemicals are floating around in those little bottles after the water has been surrounded by warm, leaching plastic for a few weeks or months. It's a hormone-disrupting cocktail. It's gross. I personally only drink bottled water if I am traveling and have no other option than severe dehydration. So, since we have polluted our planet to the point that water will basically kill you, what I'm going to do today is try to offer up what appears to me to be the most effective, comprehensive, and affordable options for at-home drinking water filtration. And I do say affordable because I'm sure that the filtration options that are in the thousands of dollar ranges are fantastic, but let's be honest, if you have that kind of money to spend, you are not getting your information from a YouTube video. I do want to start by saying that I have not found a filter that is perfect. For that, I think you would have to track down a pristine mountain spring, which has been percolating for thousands of years, and then store said spring water in a magical bubble free of physical or chemical pollutants, because virtually every water-containing vessel used by man is known to leach something. So good luck with perfection. So every option I mention here isn't perfect, because unfortunately perfection does not exist. But keep in mind that any filter you use is better than no filter at all. And I will briefly note that I am not affiliated with any of these companies. I tried, but apparently I am not relevant or important enough to be one of their super special product ambassadors. I'm not bitter, but I also don't forget. Berkey. But anyway, a lot of experts, including the Environmental Watch Group, recommend reverse osmosis filtration systems. Reverse osmosis operates by forcing water through one or more carbon filters and then a membrane with a tiny pore size of like 0.0001 microns. The combination of those two filters takes out a lot. And yet, I don't have a reverse osmosis filter, and they are not the filtration system that I recommend. Why? While reverse osmosis is great, it can be pretty expensive, and small rips in the membrane are a well-known problem with these filters. It can be very difficult to know if the membrane is ripped. Bacterial overgrowth is also a well-known issue with reverse osmosis, and additionally, the reverse osmosis units available are generally made with plastics, both hard and soft plastic tubing, which is a possible source of contamination by hormone-disrupting chemicals which are used regularly in the manufacturing of plastics, especially soft plastics. Reverse osmosis systems can also be a pain in the ass to install, depending on how they work, and they're a pretty significant risk for leaks, which reminds me that they're also a pain in the ass to repair. So while the filtration may be pretty good, I am not up for that level of complication or risk, personally. If you prefer an in-home reverse osmosis system and you're comfortable with these issues, then go for it. I think it's a decent option, but you have to do your own research. The at-home water filtration system that I opted for is much simpler. It's a gravity-fed system, so it requires no water pressure. It has limited plastics exposure, and it has been shown through independent lab testing to be pretty darn effective at contaminant removal. The option that I chose was the Berkey filter brand, but there are a few similar brands that you can consider as well, and I will cover those briefly and do a really simple comparison. I chose the Berkey because the filters are carbon-based, and they have a pretty long track record of being effective, and the filters have a really long life, about 6,000 gallons as advertised on their website. If you take this into account, the lifetime costs of the Berkey filters are actually less than cheaper alternatives like Brita filters. As Berkey has available on their website, the filtration of chemicals, heavy metals, herbicides, pesticide residues, many pharmaceutical drugs, and volatile organic compounds that can bioaccumulate is pretty darn good with the Berkey filters. Though there were a few instances of lower than optimal contaminant removal that I'm not super stoked about, like the fact that the glyphosate percentage that was removed was only about 75%, but 75% is better than 0%, so I'm not going to complain too much. I do really like that these filters are really long lasting, especially in a situation like mine where I'm filtering fairly clean tap water with no sediment. So for most people, these filters will last years, and they can be really easily cleaned several times throughout their life to improve the filter flow. In an ideal world, there would be no plastic involved in this setup, but we don't live in an ideal world, and plastic and rubber exposure is there, but it is fairly limited, especially when comparing the Berkey filter to other systems like reverse osmosis or the plastic pitcher filters. The one thing I will note is that if your tap water is fluoridated, you will have to buy separate fluoride filters for the Berkey system. And those filters do not last nearly as long. They are slated for only 1,000 gallons. And having to buy those filters regularly does add significantly onto the expense of the filtration system as a whole. It also appears to me that the fluoride filter is in a plastic case, which I'm not a big fan of. Luckily, I live in an area that doesn't fluoridate, so the Berkey filter is my cheapest option, and I feel really confident in that filter. But there are other similar options. The two others I think are good after doing a bunch of research are the Alexapure and the ProPure systems. Now, I haven't used either of these systems, so the information that I'm giving you right now is based on information from their websites as well as reviews by other people. So both of these options utilize ceramic-based filters, which appear to have about equal efficacy at filtration as the carbon-based filters from the Berkey. The ceramic filters do have a pretty long life, and they can be cleaned several times just like the Berkey to improve filtration speed. Now, I haven't read anything about potential heavy metal contamination from the ceramic filter, and the lab tests don't indicate that that's happening, so I'm not too worried about that. And one major benefit I see from the ceramic filters is that the independent lab test findings indicate that the ceramic filters are capable of removing fluoride without the addition of any more filters, which could make them preferable to the Berkey if expense is an issue and you live in an area that adds fluoride to its tap water. So starting with the Alexapure system, what's kind of weird is that it looks like you have to buy it through a separate dealer, and there are online dealers, but still, I would just rather buy it direct to avoid having to support a place called the Patriot Warehouse, which sounds like a group of Alex Jones fans. Anyway, the cost of the Alexapure is lower than the Berkey, and if you have to filter fluoride as well, this is your most affordable option. One of the drawbacks I see is that the Alexapure only comes in one size, so if you have a large or very thirsty family like mine, you'll be constantly having to refill the water. Worst things in life, I know, but with these types of filters, the filtration rate is usually around 1 gallon per hour, so you may have to like pre-plan for high water usage times, like if everyone fills up their big water bottles first thing in the morning like we do at my house. The other brand that seems pretty legit is ProPure, and ProPure has a few different sizes available, although the filter life on this guy is less than the other two options. It's not a huge deal, but just be aware. The reason I ended up with a Berkey instead of an Alexapure or a ProPure is that A, I didn't know they existed when I bought my scratch and dent sale Berkey, and B, Berkey has been around longer, so I might still opt for the Berkey, because the last thing I need to do is buy a $200 or $300 water filter system and have the brand disappear 2 years later so that I can't get filters for the impending apocalypse. What I like about all three of these options is that they are able to advertise themselves as water purifiers, which means that the filters are able to effectively remove parasitic, bacterial, and viral contamination from the water, stating that you could actually use these filters with rainwater or catchment tanks or stream water and safely drink that water as is once it goes through the filter. I have seen reports as well as anecdotal reports that do confirm that this is totally possible, but I have also seen some people report that this is not possible, and that you should not use these water filters under such circumstances. So I'm a little bit confused as to whether or not that's a good idea. But I did buy the Berkey as part of our family's overall disaster survival plan. So if the tap water stops for whatever reason, I will be able to filter rainwater or stream water or water that we have stored in our house to drink. However, to be better safe than sorry, with the possibility of these bacteria and viruses and parasites that could be in that water, because, you know, who wants a family of 4 with explosive diarrheal disease when there's no running water? What I've decided will be my plan of action in the event of a disaster is to collect rainwater or stream water and then pre-treat that water with iodine tablets to kill any parasites or bacteria or viruses, and then filter that water with the iodine in it through the Berkey to remove the iodine and whatever else is left. Make sense? Also, I will briefly mention that all of these are stainless steel based systems, which I do believe is the best option available. So yes, there is a potential for leaching of chromium and nickel from the stainless steel, but heavy metal or hormone disrupting toxin leaching is possible from all vessels and all filtration systems. Lead and others come from ceramic containers, and apparently aluminum can be leached out of glass. There are lots of chemicals in plastics, so I'm going to stick to stainless steel as it is the most durable, the least likely to break, and perhaps the least likely to slowly kill me from contaminant buildup. Alright, so you will find several links down below, and you can explore those as you choose which filter is right for you and your family. I wish you all the best, and until next time, make better choices for yourself. No one's going to do it for you, and take really, really good care. I will see you all very soon. Bye.